Hello, everyone. I hope you're enjoying your second day here at Productized. My name is Mihaela Draghici. I am a product manager at Volkswagen Digital Solutions at the Software Development Center in Lisbon, in Portugal. And today I'm here to talk to you about outcome-oriented product development and why this is a key approach in building successful products. I've joined the Software Development Center in 2019, and very soon I discovered that the company was employing the latest agile methodologies and had a strong culture focusing on building user-centric products. And traditionally, Volkswagen had been employing the waterfall method in building software. And this method makes sense for hardware manufacturing and less so for software development, mostly because of the inability of waterfall projects to adapt and adjust course as we uncover information as we progress. So the focus has shifted to an agile product development approach. And in 2015, the company decided to build stronger internal software development capabilities. So the SDCs were set up to have this focus on using the latest best practices in software development. And in the setup, we collaborated closely with the teams at Pivotal Labs, an agile software development consulting firm, to establish this world-class software development set of practices and create an agile development culture. And from the beginning, we set off building products by focusing on outcomes rather than feature requirements and by using the methodologies related to this approach. And I'm going to share with you some insights from our journey so far. So I'm going to cover a bit about what outcome-oriented product development is, why we chose this approach in favor of the traditional product and features roadmaps, and what our challenges and successes were in implementing this approach across the group, with a specific example of one of the products we developed here in the software development centers. So what is an outcome-oriented approach? This approach helps companies shift focus away from feature sets and just building features and more towards understanding customers and understanding end users and what the problems these are facing and how we can solve these problems in order to bring more value for them and more value for the business. What is an outcome? An outcome is a problem that you solve with a product. And in order to know what the right product is and how you can build it, you need to understand your customers very well, what benefits they're trying to achieve, what problems they have in achieving specific outcomes. And once you have that information, you can use it to define your outputs, which are sets of features that make up the product, which your customers will eventually purchase to solve their problems. Why is this approach important for us? Firstly, because planning around outcomes and not features is key in building products in high uncertainty environments. Waterfall software development and traditional product roadmaps usually focus on dates and features, and they set a scope and a time expectation that teams are forced to meet and to achieve. So they are under pressure. And now we're building products in dynamic markets. A lot of changes are happening. We face a lot of complexity. So we need to be able to prepare for uncertainty and adapt as we progress. Focusing on outcomes instead of features helps us do exactly that. The second part is the fact that we focus on the user and on the user problem. And traditionally, the approach is business stakeholders require development teams to build features. But what we want to do is actually not just build features, but solve problems for our users. And one of the most common questions we ask in our centers whenever we get feature requests is, okay, what is the problem? What are you actually trying to solve? So the customer and the user input become critical in our decision-making process, in understanding what the problem is and validating it before starting to look at solutions and validating potential solutions. And thirdly, we measure the product value as the impact it brings to the end user rather than the number of features we build. How did we go about setting this up? As I said, for our software development centers, this was the approach we used right from the beginning, but this was completely different from how software is developed in the rest of the group. So how did we go about it? Firstly, we defined our methodologies, the frameworks we were going to use, and the practices we were going to employ together with the teams at Pivot. Then we started openly communicating about our approach and raising awareness about how we operate across the entire group. And thirdly, which is something that we do on an ongoing basis, we every time we take on new products, we organize dedicated workshops to inform our stakeholders about our way of working and align with them around our practices and frameworks, so they clearly understand how we are going to collaborate and work together along the entire product development cycle. And this is something that we iterate upon on an ongoing basis throughout the product life cycle, and we become ambassadors and advocates of this approach, making sure that the focus of the conversation stays in the problem space and the solving problem space, rather than on the solution space and the outputs and features. To give you more context, I'm going to exemplify with one of the products we developed here in our centers. Thunder is a sales management application that is used in dealerships to help salespersons manage the car sale process more efficiently and with less admin work, which gives them more time to focus on their customers and on offering them a better car buying experience. How do we go about it? Because it's not as straightforward as just rephrasing and rewording features into outcomes. First, we have to define our vision, which is our what and the why. It's highly aspirational, and it looks at how our product intends to bring value for the users and the customers, and also how to bring value across the entire business goals. The product vision is a long-term aspect, and moving on from that, we look at the strategy, which is a set of tactics of how we realize this vision. Our product strategy is quite high level. We look at short-term, medium-term, and long-term aspects, and sets of features and products we can build to achieve a specific vision. But with this strategy, we also look at what not to build, what to deprioritize, and why. And once we have this defined, we look at our outcome roadmap or outcome-oriented priority list, which we discuss with our stakeholders. This is about how we intend to realize the strategy. So it aligns our product work with the overarching business goals, and it helps communicate the state of our product. Based on this, we then work on our backlog, which includes the details of how our product is going to be created. In the case of Thunder, our vision is to become the leading sales application used across the entire Volkswagen Group. And in our strategy, we had to look at what to change with the current status quo, in the current processes, in the focus, to shift focus more towards the customer and away from the vehicle, to reduce the highly administrative work, and other aspects we were looking at in order to define how to approach this on a short-term, medium-term, and longer-term. Once we had this clarified, we define our outcome-oriented priority list together with our stakeholders. And this is our main support, main basis for our product work. It's key for us because instead of using traditional feature roadmap, we use this OOPL, and that gives us autonomy and empowerment as product teams to focus on solving problems rather than just focusing on implementing solutions. The OOPL is also essential for us because it gives visibility and clarity over what our goals are and what steps we need to take to achieve those goals and what state we are in along the product development lifecycle. And it helps us align with our stakeholders and also coordinate cross-team collaboration, especially when working on bigger initiatives. And our stakeholders would need to get involved to help us coordinate with other teams or unblock us when we have challenges along the way. And the OOPL is the support that enables us to do that. Another important aspect is the fact that we leave space for user feedback in our product development process and give ourselves enough flexibility so that as we move forward and we learn more than we knew in the beginning, we refine and adjust this roadmap accordingly. So we optimize for learning and we are able to adapt quickly. Because what matters for us in the end is that we achieve our goals and not that we follow a specific plan, a specific path that we set up with clear steps from the beginning. As an example of our outcome-oriented priority list, here we define our outcomes, as I mentioned, together with our stakeholders, and we look at how we can enable Sam, our persona, the salesperson, to achieve certain tasks. Then we look at what obstacles we need to overcome in order to reach those outcomes. And then we define our key metrics that would help us measure the success of the products we build. So we know we are right in our solution. As I mentioned, we have a clear agreement with our stakeholders on the way we work together. And we clearly state that us as product teams own the solution. So we are the ones who decide how the features are built and what is built based on the information collected the way. We constantly push this conversation towards outcomes with our stakeholders and away from the feature requests. And since we work as a team on the solution, we actually collaborate closely together across disciplines with developers, product managers, and designers in what we call balanced teams. And we communicate constantly throughout the entire product development cycle, from the discovery phase all the way through to the delivery stage, in making decisions and in implementing the solutions we agree on. Another important aspect in our approach is the fact that we involve users very early in the stages and also throughout the entire development process. In this case, we got in touch with customers through focus groups to better understand what their expectations are when it comes to a great car purchase experience. We also observed salespersons in dealerships to understand what tasks they do on a daily basis, what current tools they're using, and what problems they have. In order to better understand how we can enable them to do their tasks more efficiently and in an easier way. How do we measure success in an outcome-oriented way? We shift away from counting the features that we build or how fast we build them or sprint burn downs, and we focus on what value we bring for the customer and the end user. And it's important for us to define these metrics right as soon as we have defined our outcomes. So once we've decided on the outcomes and their priority, in our case, for enabling Sam, our salesperson, to do their job, we also define the clear metrics that will help us understand whether our product is successful or not, and whether our product helps our persona achieve their tasks. We had challenges along the way, obviously, and we still do. Some of the most common ones are around the fact that we still do receive feature requests disguised as outcomes, and it's our mission as product teams to shift the conversation and talk about the problems and make sure that the focus stays still on the user and on the problem and not on the actual solution that is to be implemented. Secondly, getting stakeholder buy-in is still a challenge, mostly because we collaborate with departments and with colleagues that have traditionally been operating with the well-known feature roadmaps or traditional clear roadmaps that set long-term plans with a beginning and an end, and a clear set of features that need to be built one after the other. And in our case, we're trying to shift the mindset and the culture towards iteration and failure and towards risk. And it's important in this case for us to showcase the success of our product by bringing clear metrics and clear data and information that would help us show that what we build helps users achieve outcomes and helps users be successful in their jobs. How do we manage deadlines? Of course, as businesses, we have deadlines. And in this case, we work very closely with our stakeholders to prioritize the exact problems that we need to focus on to achieve our goals with a specific deadline. And then as product teams, we define what is the minimum set of features or the minimum viable product that we need to build in order to achieve our goals within the given deadline. Another important aspect is the fact that we need to make sure throughout the entire product lifecycle that we focus on outcomes that are aligned with the vision and our goals. There are cases when we receive requests to solve specific problems that are not aligned with our vision. And it's our mission as product teams to clearly understand whether that problem is a critical priority to solve now, and we need to shift focus away from our vision, or this problem can be deprioritized so that we can focus on solving the ones that lead us on the path to achieving our vision. Um, as I mentioned, Thunder is one successful example of a product that we built using this approach. And we had a lot of positive feedback from dealerships, and people are very keen to use the tool. There are other tools that we built in our centers using an outcome-oriented methodology. I can give you a few examples, such as We Deliver, which is an application that enables people to order whatever they need and have that delivered directly to the trunk of their cars, or Identity Kit, which is an identity management solution that enables car owners have access to very different services or products across the entire group. In conclusion, this approach can definitely help you build successful products and the right products for your users, because you shift the focus on the users and on the problem space. You can use the outcome-oriented priority list or outcome roadmap to align with your stakeholders and have constant communication and exchange with your stakeholders. And you shift your focus away from the number of features you deliver when you talk about product value, and you focus on the actual value that you bring to the end user and to the customer. That was it. I hope you found my presentation useful, and if you would like to discuss more, feel free to get in touch. And if you want to learn more about our software development centers, our teams, or the products we build, feel free to join us on LinkedIn or on Twitter. Thank you very much for your time. Bye.